Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network.
Well, you've probably picked up your backpacks, your new running shoes, your pens, and your paper, and you think that you're all ready to send the kids back to school. Well, maybe you need to think again, because there are some things that they should know to be safe once they head out the door.
On today's show, donating blood to save a life, big summer adventures at Sun Peak Resort, and building learning together in Parksville. That and more in the next 30 minutes.
You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4, and today we're talking sexual health education with Kerri Isham. We'll talk about some tips that you should be incorporating into your kids' back to school preparedness. We're going to start though with another look at a story about donating blood. Everybody avoids it, but if you knew how valuable it was and how much it could help somebody else, maybe it wouldn't be so difficult to do. Here's Rayanne LaPlante. For information on how you can donate blood, it's really easy. Visit the website www.blood.ca. You can find a location to donate, a time, and even book your appointment. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. Kerri Isham is a sexual health educator in the Central Vancouver Island region and beyond. We're talking about preparing your kids to be safe when they go back to school, because they're kind of out of your care and you don't get to see them every minute anymore. And what would you say is one of the foundation things that they need to know at an early age?
Well, they really need to understand the difference between private spaces and public spaces. A couple of examples. One, some kids like to self-pleasure at home in front of the TV or wind down before bed. But at circle time in kindergarten, it's not the best place to be doing that. And we find that in many of our kindergarten classes, this is something that teachers are having to deal with.
And nobody likes to have, you know, the little head peek out under the bathroom stall in the school either. So talking about private versus public, not only for your own boundaries, but what's appropriate for other people as well.
Well, in many homes, as we know, unless there's a lock on the door, quite a few kids are coming in and out of the bathroom when their parents are in there, and when they go to school, it's really important that they need to understand that the stall is there for a purpose, and it's to give people their privacy. So peeking underneath or anything like that just wouldn't be okay.
Okay, and I think one general rule of thumb, something about if a bathing suit covers it, it's private.
Absolutely.
Okay, now underneath that bathing suit, there are all kinds of words that we use to describe what lies beneath. The best rule of thumb is the way of science.
Yeah, we teach body science for kindergarten to grade 3. It's really important that they know their anatomical parts, the correct body science words, so penis, vulva, vagina, testicles. And the reason that we do that is if a child injures himself or somebody asks them to touch that private part of their body, they know that anything underneath their bathing suit is just for them.
And I think I've heard that if a predator, and it's terrible that we even have to think of that, is approaching a child and the child has this language, then the predator knows that someone is communicating with this child.
Yeah. Parents can really be supportive in this right from infancy, talking about the private body parts with the correct names, and it really does help reduce or increase abuse resistance in children.
Okay, and that's what it's all about. Well, it's not what it's all about. It's about much more than that. It's a crucial part of a healthy and happy lifestyle. We're going to get into more details on that later on this edition of Go Island. Right now, we're taking a short break.
Still to come today on Go Island, summertime lingers at Sun Peaks Resort and a visit to Parksville's Munchkin Land. That and more still to come today on Go Island.
Today on Go Island, we're joined by sexual health educator Kerri Isham. You can find out more about the many things that she's involved with at powerupworkshops.com. But today we're talking about what you should talk to your children about before gladly pushing them out the door to school. 3 S's we're going to start with.
So we want to have every child, kindergarten to grade 10, understand safe, unsafe, and secret touches.
Okay, so what are the differences between the 3? Let's talk with unsafe.
So unsafe, kicking, punching, biting, slapping, just the things that they're not supposed to be doing at home or school.
Okay, and then safe is good job, something like that?
Yeah, high fives, pats on the backs, hugs when asked.
Okay. Yeah. My little guy has a challenge. He just wants to run up and hug everybody, kind of unwarned. Now the third one was secret.
Yeah.
What is a secret?
So we teach kids that there's a difference between surprises and secrets. So a surprise everybody would find out about. It could be a party, it could be a vacation or something like that. A secret is something that someone is not going to share with others. And so when we're talking about children's safety at school, we want to make sure that if anyone asks them to keep a secret, that they report to one of their trusted adults.
Okay. We're going to get into the 5 trusted adults in just a moment, but getting back to the secret, and I think I heard once, and it might have been from you, that there's no reason why a child should be asked to keep a secret by an adult, and that's the difference to a surprise, because we all love surprises.
Absolutely. No child should ever be requested to keep secrets from their teachers, from their family, etc. Yeah.
Okay. And that should trigger something in the gut that we'll talk about a little bit later on. But 5 adults. Who are these 5 adults, and what is a requirement to be a trusted grown-up? And it can't be a parent.
So a really simple tool for when we send kids off to school is we get them to draw their hand on a piece of paper, and then on the tip of each finger they're going to draw a picture of their trusted adults. Kids will say police officers, counselors, teacher. The duty person is someone that usually comes up, or the bus driver, anybody that they could go to that they know they're going to be able to get help from. And we also teach them that if one adult doesn't listen or hear their words, that they would need to go to a second adult until somebody believes them.
Okay, and this applies, I mean, I'm thinking, the K to 3, but this is absolutely applicable to high school and even beyond, really. Something everybody can look at. Okay, we're going to come back and talk about more things that you can talk to your children about as they head back to school next week. We're heading to another edition of Arbutus RV's Big Summer at the moment, though, up to Sun Peaks Resort near Kamloops, where Sam Nunzan shows us that even though summer is almost over, there's still lots to do up at the resort. A little end of summer getaway wouldn't be a bad idea. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. Kerri Isham is a certified sexual health educator with PowerUpWorkshops.com. We're talking about intuition. As a grown-up, I like to think that I know when something just doesn't feel right, and I work on following my intuition, but how do you teach that to a child? Because it's so important.
I think from a really young age, we need to teach kids to really listen to the body cues, so sweaty palms or a strange feeling in their stomach, and we can give them opportunities where they have to interact with strangers so that they can feel, is that a yes interaction or a no interaction? Did that person feel safe with you, for you?
And they don't have to answer a why. It's just, no, I felt this in my hands, I felt this in my gut. It's a huge conversation to have with your children, and it is quite a concept even for grown-ups and especially women to get their heads around. And this is where books can be a huge help, and I know that you've got a great resource of books on your website.
Yeah, one of the things that I really am focused on doing, particularly this year, is stocking our school libraries as much as we can. So often kids will go into libraries and ask for books on puberty and to only find 1 or 2 books. Some of the books are not even actually displayed on the shelf, they're sort of in a back room. So one of the things that I've done is I've partnered with Amazon, and anytime that anyone purchases books from my website, I get a small kickback, and that money is then used to buy books for schools. And I'm happy to report I'll be donating 26 books to schools this year.
Awesome. And you work within District 68, 69, and beyond as well.
And 79.
And 79. Okay, PowerUpWorkshops.com for more information. Lots of great resources there for you, and I know that books are a great tool to make the conversations not only make more sense for the kids, but a little bit easier for the parents in the situation as well. We're going to be back with more on Go Island after this. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. School starts next week. We've got our books, we've got our shoes, our backpacks, and we think we're prepared to send our children out the door to go learn. But what are they learning when it comes to sexual health education? Kerri Isham is a professional in the field. Do you think parents know what it is that their kids are supposed to be learning as far as sexual health goes in the public school system?
I think overall I would say no. I think parents are learning about the curriculum through people like myself and other sexual health educators, but I think in general, I don't think people actually know that it's part of a course called Health and Career Education. It's actually 5% of our curriculum, and sexual health is found within that 5%.
Okay. Okay, so in the school districts then in British Columbia, are they tested for their knowledge on sexual health? I would think that they would have to be if it's a part of the curriculum. There has to be a measuring stick somehow.
To the best of my knowledge, there's no testing involved. It's the kids are very interested in learning about body science and sexual health education, and teachers may choose to test them on it. I think the most important thing is most of our report cards now have health and career education as a topic, but sexual health education learning outcomes are not reflected underneath that subject area.
Okay.
So it'd be easy for parents not to know that it was part of the curriculum.
What do you recommend parents do to make sure that their kids have what they need to stay safe and be healthy in that regard as they progress in their lives? Because I do rely on teachers to teach my kids how to count, or how to read.
Yeah.
But I'm not relying on them to teach them about appropriate touch and some of the other things that we've been talking about today.
Well, because of the internet, we're very lucky. All you would have to do is go to Google and type in BCIRP, Health and Career Education, and then it's divided into grade level.
Okay.
So if your child's entering kindergarten, for example, you click on kindergarten, you will see that they need to know about private body parts, safe, unsafe, and secret touch, and ways of sharing if they've been touched inappropriately.
Okay, and then when we move up through the high school system, they're getting into more of the reproductive science and how to not get pregnant when they don't want to get pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah, the curriculum is K to 9, health and career education, and then planning 10 has its own curriculum.
Okay. There's so many other things that we could get into talking about now. We're just touching the very tip of the iceberg here with Kerri Isham. And I'm just gonna open one more little door. So much of what kids are bringing into their knowledge base comes from television.
Yeah.
And I am shocked at how early and how much our kids are exposed to. Parents, just be aware.
Yeah.
What kind of things do you see out there that kids learn about sex from television?
Well, the conversations have to happen, and they have to happen earlier and earlier. And I think that's one of the things that's sort of traumatic to parents is we need to talk to 7, 8, 9-year-olds about all sorts of things that we never needed to talk to them about until they were teenagers.
Right. Okay. Yeah. You'd like to think that your 7-year-old is not exposed to those things, but the reality is that they probably are. And if you're not talking to your children about things like this, then other people probably are. We're going to throw things over now to Ryan LaPlante. We're going to revisit Munchkin Land as part of the Building Learning Together program in Parksville. Building Learning Together is a community partnership with many different stakeholders, including School District 69, and they do work in conjunction with the school district's calendar, which means programs from BLT will be up and running again next week. For full details, and there are many, you can visit the website at www.blt.sd69.bc.ca. That brings us to the end of this edition of Go Island. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope that we provided you with some tools to have meaningful and very useful and important conversations with your children as they head back to school next week. For more information on what Kerri can do to help, visit powerupworkshops.com. Thanks for watching once again. We'll see you next time.
Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network. Clothing supplied by Catwalk Fashions. Kate's Hair and Aesthetics provided by Maffeo Salon.